Welcome in all hail Cobra to another Tuesday edition of the Evening Blend. So I'm looking at my screen. Matthew Matson is showing off. He's big timing everybody right now. That's what he does. If you know him, you know he's a big timer. He's a topper. He's a one-upper. Man, oh man, oh man. We were just chatting backstage just a little bit before we started, and I apologize if my voice is a little toasted tonight. I don't feel under the weather. I'm actually above the weather. My body is what feels like it's under the ground right now. I had a rough, rough couple days or day at work Sunday, and so we were just talking about that and some manual labor, not manual labor. It was manual labor, and so yeah, it was something else. But nonetheless, here we are, back again for another Tuesday. Maybe not well rested. Maybe you are. but yeah, man, oh man, we're going to power through this, my friend. We're going to power through it. All right. Now, a lot of movie news. There is a little bit of some comic industry news for those that still collect comics. And then, and really about a company that kind of, in a way, kind of ruined the comic industry, I guess, through distribution, right? In a way. And then some Hollywood news. We will go over a little bit of the fires. I went over a lot of that Friday night, in depth, I think. And so I have not gotten your thoughts, Matthew, about all that, so we can kind of get into that a little bit. Some production halting, a little bit of production starting, projections for Captain America, Brave New World. Not, it's so great. The previews, they keep chugging out trailers here. And we'll look at current box office here in a minute, kind of see what that's looking like. It is obviously slow season for Hollywood. And so that means kind of a little bit of slow season for us, and not a lot of news. The fires have really dominated the coverage. So first and foremost, before I get to the chat, let me get to you, because you've barely even said a word. How you doing today, man? And is everything going good for you, where you're at weather-wise and all that stuff? You're muted. There we go. Yes, right. There's that Boomer. Golden voice. We love it. Let's go.
Boomer. Yeah. Last week we had some storms. This next Monday, Tuesday, we might have some more. But mostly just cold weather because that Siberian front's coming. Yep. That kind of messed up some stuff, but I got some cool photos out of it. Got to play in the snow with my kiddos. Awesome. Got to spend some time by the fireplace admiring my new collection that just came in. Taking photos, managing work stuff, all in good fun.
I'm spending time by my fireplace, actually right here. Yeah, 4K fireplace, folks.
Nice.
It's yeah.
I will tell you though that with all this weather that came in, I've been feeling a little sore and fatigued, but we went and hit the gym today, so everything's good. Because the gym was awesome.
I don't make New Year's resolutions. I know.
Oh no,
I quit doing that a long time ago. I think maybe years ago when you were out drinking on New Year's Eve, you're like, and I haven't done that in a long time. But this old body needs to probably start getting a little bit of exercise, like more than I do. At work, I'm on my feet for hours at a time. I do move quite a bit. I don't stand still. Even at home, really, I don't stand still that often. I pace a lot. But that's not actual working out.
That's right.
Or at least getting, some kind of your body, benefiting your body, right?
Yep.
Just being on your feet is not benefiting your body.
Yep.
So yeah, no, that is something I really do need to do. And it's funny because as years go by, it's easy to say that, right? But the older you get, really, it makes a huge difference in the way that you feel.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, and I give my mom credit. I don't talk about my mom on these streams and stuff like that. We talk to my sister every now and then, but I give my mom a lot of credit, man. She goes to the Y pretty much like 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And at 75 years old, staying active, meeting new people, right? Being around people when you're retired and stuff like that is extremely important. And so I credit her a lot for really going out every day, getting up, and putting in the hours, and then
Yep.
turn around and going back, maybe 2 times a day, maybe 3 times a day sometimes, and that's crucial, man. I really believe that, and I think it's helped prolong her as
Yep.
well. Just going.
I'm up on my feet all day, so it's exhausting to think about going to the gym, but it's well worth it.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
get out there and do it. It was a whole lot easier for me a while ago. Well, one, I was younger.
Yep.
Two, I was on my feet teaching martial arts classes all day, and kickboxing and Pilates classes. So my job was working out. So I was working out like 8 hours a day.
Right. So real without doing a deep dive, folks, because we're not going to do that because we got some stuff to get to, obviously. But without doing a deep dive, Matthew, when did you get into the like healthcare industry, and not the healthcare industry that many people think of, but the
Mm.
healthcare industry of actually, like, not necessarily homeopathic, but just the body part of it, the movement and getting people like in it right. I just want to ask you that because I don't
Yeah.
think we've ever really talked about it. I know you've mentioned it on other streams, but we don't have to do a super deep dive. But just when did you make that decision, I guess, to kind of do that?
Well, it was uh, after I had cancer. I got back from having cancer, and I started working at a 24-hour fitness, and I was making changes in people's lives, and people were encouraging me to do something bigger, better. Most of them would say, you're doing more than my physical therapist. Go, you should become a physical therapist. Had a girl, 12-year-old with multiple sclerosis and cerebral palsy, and she's the first one that put it in my head because I did. Her mom came in crying one day, and she pulled herself up on the couch, and she said she'd never been able to do that before, and it's because what we did.
Wow.
And I had another patient, another client, not a patient at the time, right? Who was way overweight, and he credits me with saving his life because he lost 250 pounds
Holy.
with me. And he's a first chair violinist for the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, and everybody at work noticed within 3 months that there's a big change in him. And over the next 2 years, we changed his life,
Wow.
and so it's been an ongoing goal and quest of mine for that, and I got into teaching and stuff like that. But as a licensed medical professional, it's only been about 6 years. Uh,
Wow.
but I've been doing healthcare related stuff for 25 years,
Yeah.
um,
It
working with the U.S. Olympic team and all that kind of stuff.
Oh wow. I mean, I mean, I can tell you're passionate about it. Just talking to you, and we talk backstage, and just talking about work. It's work stuff, right? Hey, how was your week, whatever. But I can tell you're passionate about it. We still deal with the same stuff, some of the same corporate stuff, some of the same issues that everybody deals with their jobs, right? But I can tell you're passionate about it, so I just kind of wanted to ask, and I don't think we've ever actually really talked about it, to be quite honest with you. I don't think so. As many times as we've talked, and usually we just jump into it, here. But for those of you that have been tuning in, obviously y'all been tuning in for a while, and you kind of know us, I guess. But it's just something I kind of wanted to ask, man. That's it's quite amazing, to be honest with you, and it's inspirational, to be honest as well. I mean, really, but I can tell you definitely have a passion for it, and that's awesome, man. I know you
Thank you.
like helping people, and at the same time, you like enjoying your toys, you like enjoying your movies, TV shows, and your family. Those are kind of all rolled up there together. And so,
I,
yeah, man.
I will say, I mean, I went through lots of career changes to get there, but there's a friend of mine who had a more dramatic shift than me, in my opinion, because he went from being an engineer, and at the age of 50, he decided he's going to go to medical school and become a doctor.
What?
And
Stop it.
he's a concierge MD right now, treating people and making huge changes in people's lives.
Wow.
And he completely turned his life around. He also got healthy and lost a bunch of weight, and decided to do the same thing. And he did it at 50. So
Wow.
it's
And
never too
that's
late.
no, it's not. And that's why. And look, even a small step, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Time to start maybe make a couple changes here. I mean, really, but you're right. It isn't too late. And 50, that's a long time to start making changes. That's for sure. We usually get set in our ways. And speaking of setting our ways, every week we always say hey to the chat. So with that, I would be remiss without saying hello to my cousin, 3 Star Draw. So what's up? Let's get blended. That's probably one of the names of the show that came through the pipeline a while back. We were trying to figure it out. I don't know. You know, I know Punk makes a joke about it on his show every when he plays the commercial. He's like, "What's it called again?" You know, I'm like, "Well, I don't even think the name of it. You didn't even put it in that commercial then.
No, I didn't.
You
On
didn't."
purpose.
Yes, and so it's like, yeah, he makes the joke, but it's funny because it's not even in the commercial, you know. But yes, the evening blend. Hey, look, you do what you do, man. Right? You do what you can. We'll keep it going. Hopefully, it sticks. I think it's all right. Bobby Wold is in the house. Pop Blender, is that a fireplace behind you or live coverage on how well Newsom's taking care of California? I'd say it's the latter rather than the former. And it is a 4K fireplace, Bobby. Let's get it right. Okay, let's get it right.
I saw a tweet today that I just about busted out laughing at. We may talk about it later.
That's fine. Put a pin in it. But if you need to bring it up, you're more than welcome to. I've got a couple things saved here. But Minjo's is in the house. What's up, man? Always good to see you. Dreadnought K6, loyal to the end, my friend. Same time, Toy Shane. Phone died. I'll be back. That is all good, my friend. And hopefully one day I'll try to jump on and join them. I watched a stream with him and Woody and Krusty Old Crow.
Mm-hmm.
They were cutting up, man, and it was a good time. It really was. Like they were having fun. Now they do some stuff I don't do, but that's okay. They were still just cutting up, having fun, and it really was actually a good time. And I encourage people to watch on Same Time Toys.
Do you know Just Jeff and Zakanin and those guys?
I don't. I actually do not. I do not know them.
They do a show on Tuesdays and Thursdays sometimes. Definitely a Thursday thing that I've seen them on. We've had discussions, and they'd like to do something with us at some point, I think. So
that's cool.
Their shows are mostly based pop culture. Also, so they talked about science fiction movies that made them and that kind of stuff. So
I know Just Jeff. Like I've never been on a stream. I've never maybe even chat wise, right? I do know him, but he's the only one I do know and know of, I guess you could say. But I'm always, dude. I'm always down. Meet new people, talk about some of this stuff, man. I even watched the last episode of Skeleton Crew.
Oh yeah, all right. Tonight. You and 5 other people. Good job.
Me and all 5 other Star Wars fans that are left in the world watch Star Wars, Skeleton Crew, Star Wars Crew, whatever. It doesn't matter. Nobody gives a shit. They don't care what the title is. Loves
Next
Mules. Yeah. Loves Mules is here. My sis, giving a big wave. Probably. It didn't work right now. Probably either or there. She is an early person. Gets there early, probably half an hour. That's the ideal employee you'd like to have. But where she works at, man, she's probably one of the few ideal employees. A punk with toys. Hello, fools. Hello, you punk. Always good to see you, man. It was fun hanging out on Punk's Pit, talking some sports the other night. I know, Matthew, you kind of checked out for a while there.
Yep.
Yeah, you checked out for like an hour or something, and we were just knee deep in Lions talk and Steelers talk. And listen,
I used to love all that stuff. I just haven't got to care for it in the last couple years.
If I was going to do another panel or second, and I've considered it, the other thing I'm actually really passionate about, there's 2 other things really, is sports and music.
Yeah.
And man, I could talk sports, man. I mean, I'm not kidding. I could go on for hours, as you saw the other night. Turk Murphy's Toy Solutions in the house. Good evening, fellas, and good evening to you, Turk. And then real quick again, Punk says Olivia and I have to watch the last couple episodes. Punk in the chat, just quickly, whatever. Have you actually enjoyed the show? Like, okay. I'm going to tell everybody out there, Skeleton Crew, it's not a terrible show. It's no
Mm,
one's watching it, and we understand why, Matthew. We've talked about it many
yeah.
times, and I think coming up soon, you and I need to do a Star Wars dedicated episode. Um, Maybe going over some of the things from the movies,
Mm.
and something like just throwing questions out, and even for the chat. Um, what was more important? My son posed this question to me today. He texted me on my way home: the Battle of Yavin or the Battle of Endor? So my son's been either watching a bunch of Star Wars lore videos on YouTube. He said he saw it in like a forum or something. But
Mm.
a question like that, which is more important, Yavin or Endor? And I said, well, Yavin was the beginning of the rebellion, and they
The
secured a
catalyst.
victory. It was a
Yep.
catalyst. They got more people to join the fight.
Yep.
Luke used the Force for the first time, basically by
A-
himself.
And it put the Empire on the back step.
Right? Yes, it dealt a major blow. Right, but the Battle of Endor took care of Palpatine and Vader, right? Or at least, well, for the time being, Palpatine in one, he has returned,
Mhm.
famously said by Poe Dameron, I think it was. Um, yeah, so anyway, so we might do one of those in this slow
Yeah.
season of Hollywood, just for fun, man. Just to have a Star Wars themed episode, go over some of those little points, and see what you guys think about that stuff. I know, let's not kid ourselves, Matthew. Star Wars is at an all time low right now. I mean, even in the
Yep.
'90s, I would say that it wasn't. It was low, but it wasn't like this.
Right.
And because of Disney, it is really in the basement right now, under the
Yep.
basement almost. And so, but that might be fun. Punk says
Yeah.
I have enjoyed it, and so has Olivia. Yeah.
And
So
and everything I've heard about it says it's the best Disney Plus Star Wars show.
yeah, it's. I would put. I still would put Andor as the
Mm.
best if you want to say well written
Mhm.
character, um,
Yeah, well, I shouldn't say
cast.
the best. I said better than Kenobi, Ahsoka, Acolyte.
100%.
You know.
100%. Speaking of Acolyte, I've got to show you guys something here momentarily. Yeah. So, nonetheless, Skeleton Crew. I'll just go ahead and give it quickly. No spoilers or anything like that. Um, if you have kids that are ages, let's say 6 to 10, 6 to 12, even, maybe over that, it's a fine show.
Yeah.
It is a Goonies esque adventure. It is the Amblin Entertainment type of thing. Yes, are there plot holes? Are there things that maybe don't quite make sense in this last episode in a way? Yeah, in a way. But ultimately, it's not a bad show. It's not terribly written. It is for children. This just not. Let's face it, it's for kids. And so, just knowing that first and foremost, that going into this is no Revenge of the Sith, and this is,
Mhm.
this is for children. But it's not a terrible show, and I am a bit surprised at the numbers that it's getting, and even like pulling it up
Well,
on Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean that goes to show you they've done so much damage that now next product from Star Wars no one cares about. Even if
I
it's
mean,
good, it's got to be like Rockstar good before it's
it's
gonna move
gotta
the
be
needle.
crazy, and
Yeah.
this was not on the docket tonight, folks. But we're into it. Who cares, right? It's our show. We can do whatever we want. Um, look, popcorn meter. That's their new audience rating. Is 80%.
Thank you,
Not
Captain
terrible.
Marvel.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Exactly. Uh, 91% critic reviews. Now, a lot of times those numbers don't match up. They're not
Yeah.
crazy close. But in this particular instance, 80% audience score. Um, Honestly, I thought maybe it would have been a little higher, but I think possibly some of those reviews coming in might be from adults who are like, what is this? This is
Yeah.
stupid. And sometimes people, and look, a lot of people that tune into our stream, a lot of people that watch afterwards or replay and stuff like that are toy collectors. I understand that because that's a lot of people that I've gotten to know and in different streams and chats. Uh, you're not you haven't lost touch with your childhood, right? And a lot of those people have not either. A lot of people watching this show haven't lost touch with their childhood, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a really good thing in today's world that we live in. That's a great thing, actually. And so, for me, some of those maybe cynical reviews, I get it. But no, it's not a bad show. It's an adventure that kids go on. And you're
Yep.
like, well, hell, that could be one of a million shows.
Right.
And yet, really watching it and watching each episode, taking it in, I've enjoyed it. It's not the best thing out there, but at the same time, especially for kids in particular, it's just solid. And there's no weird, you know what I mean? Like a lot of the stuff we've seen the last few years, especially even out of Disney.
Right.
This is truly mainly a family show, and there's nothing in it that would scare anybody away. They do have one same sex couple that has a child, but they don't go out of their way to tell you about it or mention it or point it out. So for anybody that that's something for them that they're like, I don't want my kids. Why? You don't even really notice it. It's not even
Right.
a part of the show. It's
Yep.
so in the background. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be great, but it is fun.
Yep.
It's a fun show. This last episode, there's a couple things where I'm like, I don't know, I don't know why you made that choice, but ultimately it's still fun. And I'm not gonna spoil anything. I did want to say hey to Todd C dropping in. What's going on? And Three Star Tross says, aren't there lesbian witches though? There are not. However, ladies and gentlemen,
Oh.
I got a package. Got a package. I don't even know lighting wise, my setup's just not done. How to show this off. So let me stop the screen here. Let me go to full screen. I got a package sent to me from Walmart.com, ladies and gentlemen. From my cousin. The Holocom Collection. Disney Star Wars. The Black Series. The popular Black Series. And I got my very own May Assassin Disney Star Wars The Acolyte action figure. The 3-star draw sent to me for the price of a Dr. Pepper.
Nice.
The that just goes to show me. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to do with this. Like, I'm gonna open it.
You set up a little light pad. You put it on the light pad. You hold it out in front of you and pretend like you're having a conversation with her. You have your own special effect.
That's true. The conversation I'd rather have is me kneeling down talking to a big head of the Emperor from Empire Strikes Back. That's the one I'd love to be having. Yeah, but anyway, so
how did you survive? Oh,
so this was sent to me, and quite funny actually. So another package showed up. I got one package like the day before or something, and I've got Leatherneck on the way, or Larry Neck. I've got Saw Viper. I've got Xandar on the way. I got Starduster. And then so Starduster's here. The other three are on the way, and then I got another package, a very special package, ladies and gentlemen. Very special package. I'm not going to show the address or any of that stuff. Very special package. And this is, I can't reveal what this is, but if you know, you know. Been making its way across the country.
Yep.
Very special package. I have yet to open it. Actually, I'm off this weekend. It will be opened, but actually probably before then. Yes, it will be. But very special package. Came. I have not opened it yet. But if you know, you know. And if you're on the list, you're on the list. But anyway, so that should be a lot of fun. I'm actually curious to see what's inside of it. But it showed up as well. Then this Walmart package. And so I get home and I text, and I'm like, hey, man, I got this package. And then there's like, well, there should be something else. And I'm like, what do you mean something else? I haven't ordered any. And then I see sitting in the chair here is a package from Walmart. And I'm like, what the hell? I didn't order anything from Walmart. And yeah, one more time for your make your eyes bleed. It's May from the Acolyte. Yay! Anyway, holy moly, sweet baby Jesus. So anyway, yeah. So that came. Some other stuff came, and And so it's going to be interesting opening up these boxes. Let's see, real quickly. Yeah, did you hear about the recasting with Balin Skull, the Hound? I
Yep.
went over it Friday. I thought that was interesting. I'm curious to see how that goes. I thought that Ray Stevenson was the best character in
Yeah.
that show,
Yep.
the Ahsoka. They are doing season 2. And Punk says, yeah, the lesbian couple's just there, it's not crammed down anybody's throat. And that's exactly what I said. That, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not, and that's good. So,
I
um,
think the Hound is probably a good choice. I think he can pull off the presence necessary for that character,
I do too.
uh, and may bring something special to the role. So
It's such a loss though to like
yeah,
just the acting
yeah.
world. Ray Stevenson, was somebody that a lot of us in particular probably in this world.
I liked
Uh,
him as Punisher. I
yeah,
liked him as Firefly.
yeah,
I mean, he's been in a lot of other roles that are better than those, but
yeah,
those are the
man.
first two that popped in my head.
Yeah, yeah. But even the Balin Skull character was the most interesting character out of the entire show. And so that's a shame, man. Hated to see that, but yeah. So we'll see how that works out. We'll see how that works out. Menjoza, we'll I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, so I guess we can kind of dive into it a little bit. It's got a little news of the day as we get into a few things. I've got a few things saved. I guess really just starting off. You and I usually kind of will go over this little box office action just to kind of see, what's out there, what's happening with the box office, what shows are, or what movies rather are kind of taking control. And I will say I am a little surprised, but also not so surprised at Mufasa.
Hmm.
Was number one, kind of dropped down to number two. Den of Thieves rather, two. Pantera. Man, I have not kept up with that at all. I could not tell you. Nosferatu moved up a couple spots to number three from number five this week, still raking it in. Been out for 20 days. I knew that movie would have some legs. I knew that it wasn't going to be just a crazy $1 billion winner,
Right.
but I really really enjoyed that movie, and I've told everybody, hey, go see Nosferatu. It's such a good film and much needed, I think, right now. It's not the jump scare and the cheap scare slasher thing, but just a nice period piece, very deliberate piece.
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog 3, holding strong. Number 4, A Complete Unknown Bob Dylan biopic. Wicked at number 6, been out for almost 60 days going on, and it's raking it in. 450. I thought maybe Wicked would have done better. 459
Yeah.
million. I thought Wicked would maybe have gotten closer to that 700 or 800 million mark. I don't know what you were kind of
Hmm. Yeah, I thought it was going to do
anticipating.
better. Also,
I really did.
I was really surprised that it hasn't made the numbers we thought thought it was going to make yet because of how popular and well received it was.
Yeah, and it was well, especially by the press. If you watched all those stupid interviews with the two stars, the embarrassing interviews that evidently they have just fallen in love with each other.
Well,
Evidently,
it's probably those interviews didn't help things much. So
I don't. I think you're right. I actually think that was more of a detriment
yeah, I do too.
than something that helped. Wraith Mace is in the house, and Wraith Mace, I
What's
did
up?
notice. I did see your post. You got a new mic, got a Elgato mic. I use some Elgato products myself. They are very good for stuff like this, and I think that, to be quite honest with you, Wraith Mace, I think that's going to help you immensely because the headset mic you were using was not great. Just telling you, that's going to help you a lot, and you will notice that. That will probably be an immediate impact. You will be a lot happier yourself maybe watching back some of your stuff. You're going to love it, and it's going to make you sound. It's going to make that beautiful voice sound even better than it already does. Um, and so yeah, kind of rounding out the top 10 ish. Moana 2,
Hmm.
for it's almost made as much as Wicked.
Yep.
Gladiator 2 still holding on, right? Not even
Well,
reached the $200 million mark.
Yeah, they're really forcing some of these movies to stay in theaters.
Yeah, $80 a theater is what it's averaging at this point. Homestead, that's the Kevin Costner, Angel Studios. If you know anything about Angel, they are, do a lot of, but religious, uh, movies and shows and stuff like that as well. Paramount Plus, or Paramount Pictures, Better Man, Craven the Hunter, The Fire Inside, Nickel Boys. The trailer I saw for Nickel Boys, I couldn't tell you what in the world that movie is about.
No,
It
not so much.
makes no sense. But anyway, 3-star draw says I finally watched Den of Thieves, one a couple weeks ago. It's kind of a knockoff of Heat and Ocean's 11, but it's entertaining. I want to see two. So that's a notch for Den of Thieves 2, which I'm honestly, you and I, as much as we've gone back and forth each week, that thing flew right under my
Yeah.
radar.
Yep.
Yeah, right under my radar. And then is American Prime Evil worth watching? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I don't either. But as far as current box office, that's really mostly anything. Wild Robot been out 109 days, pulled in 143 million, uh, but it's averaging about $5 a theater. So that kind of
Yeah.
rounds everything out. That's kind of what's going on. Again, it is a slow period in Hollywood right now. It's kind of like the music industry. In the wintertime, everything just shuts down. You might have some things being made, albums being cut, but they know when they need to release that stuff.
Yeah.
But as far as news of the day, let's at least get what I could find was somewhat the most recent update of the LA fires. Now I haven't really gotten necessarily your opinions on the fires. I know if anybody watched Friday, they know what I think. Showed a lot of video, a lot of incompetence, unfortunately, at a local and higher level
Yep.
in that state. But the winds evidently died down today, but it's supposed to pick back up, and it's just continued on. I'm sure people are tired of the coverage. I understand that. But have you had a chance to even really kind of check out any of the coverage, or maybe flip through your phone and just see any of the
I've seen some of
news
the
on it?
coverage, and I've seen a lot of it being backtracked. They're going back and forth whether this happened or it didn't happen. They keep changing the story about whose house burned down, or where the fires have spread to, or what trucks are being allowed in the state or not. And
Okay. There,
um,
yeah.
there's been such mismanagement and on this entire thing. But at least not we forget the people in North and South Carolina who are still without homes, and FEMA keeps waiting to the last second, like literally until like 8 p.m. last night. They didn't know if they were getting kicked out in the morning or not. And
I
then
saw that.
then they extended it another 48 hours or whatever, or no, several days or a couple weeks or something. There's a
Right.
date that's on there. And so, the people out there are still suffering. So there's stories that are happening that aren't being covered, where millions of Americans are getting ready to be thrown out in the cold winter storms to die, essentially.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
My. Yeah.
and then you've got this mismanagement across the board down here on this one. So you've got FEMA stopping assistance from being delivered, and holding back assistance for those people. And then you've got the people in LA where your entire government let you down. You pay taxes for a reason, and they mismanage those funds. They sent them over to the Ukraine. They sent your firefighting supplies over to the Ukraine, redirected water flow, didn't clear the brush like they were supposed to, and stripped down the fire department to bare bones of incompetent people. And there's a whole lot of things going on in LA that didn't have to happen.
And I don't even need to add to that. I mean, it's like a checklist. I mean, you literally laid it all
Yeah.
out.
The only other thing is the insurance one, and I haven't gotten a chance to look into that too much, but I know that the state was unwilling to work with the insurance companies on something, so the insurance companies said, "Okay, we're out," and canceled a bunch of people's policies before this happened. So, it's hard to say insurance company versus government, because neither one of them have your best interest in mind.
That's true.
And so they're both culpable in what's going to happen coming up.
Yeah, and look, I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I've had ranging of opinions from, hey, if you can help out, help out. I've heard people say, hey, these are the average home price is 4 million, plus out there, and so in the Palisades anyway, and
Yeah.
so these are people that have done quite well. And so, asking someone to give money to someone who owns a almost $5 million home or more is a difficult thing to do. I totally get that conversation as well.
Yeah.
The insurance part of it, I've had people bring that up as well. It's even the rebuilding part of it afterwards is that a lot of people are
Well,
skeptical that
yeah,
that
they're
that
not
we,
going to be able to do it because they've been trying to
right,
get people off the coastline and everything else for
right.
such a long time for environmental purposes. They've been making it more and more restrictive to do anything. So now that they've burned down, they're like, nope, you can't rebuild here. They're just going to put up more restrictions so that a lot of those homes that were there can never be rebuilt.
Yeah. It's evidently the Eaton and Palisades fires are the second and fourth most destructive in California history.
Hmm.
And that's a long history, at least from our perspective as a country. And so yeah, that's quite destructive. 60 square miles,
I think
large. I mean,
somebody,
that's man.
one of the firefighters, I think, said that 80% of the Palisades is gone.
I mean, and you've seen the pictures. Obviously, here's
Hey,
a
Biden even
couple of
commented
them.
on it. He said it looked like a war zone.
I mean, it's just it is a shame. I mean, God, I hate you. No, I'm done. I'm done with you. Anyway, it's CNN on top of that. It's like, yeah,
Uh,
I'm done with you, CNN. Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing you because I hate you so much. Anyway, but yeah, no, it has been really unbelievable to see the pictures, right?
yeah.
Um, and yet you still will see people that are like, hey, look, this you can't blame this on the government. You can't blame it on Newsom. You can't blame it on Karen Bass. It's not their fault. You can't possibly clear away this brush. There's no way to do
Oh,
it.
that's
There's a
bullshit.
and that yes, and we that's been shown that it
Yeah.
is. And it is a shame because, bottom line is, yeah, real people are affected,
Yep.
period.
Yep.
But you're gonna find a hard time getting sympathy out of people where in your neck of the woods, and you're gonna find a hard time getting sympathy out of people in my neck of the woods. It
Yeah.
just, it just is that way. And yet, as you mentioned in the Carolinas, you've got people that are finding out at the last minute whether they have to take whatever belongings they have and get out of the hotel that they've been staying in. Yet you have hotels that have been taken over by the federal government to allow
Hmm.
illegals staying in them for months at a time or longer.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's, no matter how you felt about November, there's a lot of people that look at a lot of this silliness and they go, hey, look, let's get back to basics, right? Let's get back to basics. Let's take care of business. And so hopefully we'll see that. I do hate seeing that in the Carolinas though,
Yep.
especially for those folks
Yep.
in particular. Nolan, how you doing? Good to see you. A pleasure. So yeah, I didn't want to do a super deep dive on it. I know that Biden approved a $770 payment to each person affected by the fires out there. $770 will probably buy you one basket of groceries in California. Uh, it's
No, no, no. Remember, you can steal the groceries
Ooh.
because
Oh,
it's
that's
under.
right, $900,
Yeah.
right? Something like that. Yeah, you can steal the groceries. Screw the payment. Take that shit. That's weed. I don't know. Whatever it is you do with $770 in California, evidently give it to the government so they won't do anything.
No, they
But
just
that's
blow it
a
up
whole
and
yeah, yeah. 13% taken state income taxes. We have no water. Anyway, it is a shame though. But
yeah,
yeah,
no, yeah. I feel for the people that are suffering there. It's not their fault
it's it,
directly, but indirectly,
it's tough. It's tough.
the leadership in place is culpable in the situation. They didn't do their jobs, and now the people are paying for it.
And that's where people have the ability to change that.
Yep.
And there was even a recall election, right?
Yep.
Now, a lot of people say, well, they couldn't have foreseen that there would have been. Well, no, there's fires out there all the time. You can
Yeah.
foresee this. It's not, it's not
And,
like this could not
and,
have
and
happened.
right, and this is particularly even worse because of the high wind situation
Yes.
that's there and the mismanagement of everything else.
All the
And then
resources. Yeah.
you got to look into, somebody else has said this, and it's like there really aren't any accidental fires. There are negligent ones, and then there are purposeful ones that happen in these areas, right? In the
Right.
Palisades, it is someone either being negligent or being purposeful in
Right.
starting it, and you can take that with whatever you want, but
Sure.
that's in general how the fires out there start. It's not just an accidental whatever.
A lightning strike.
Well, a lightning strike would do it, but I don't think
Right.
that happened because
Yeah.
you don't get much thunder and lightning out there in California.
Not a lot. So yeah, it's I don't know. It's interesting. It has put some things on hold. There's been some production stoppages, as
Yep.
we've seen in Hollywood. This story from just a few days ago. Not my favorite website,
Well,
but
and then all the premieres that were canceled
a lot
and
of
all that stuff
premieres.
too. So they're
It's fires in Los Angeles Rays and already hurting Hollywood press's pause.
yep,
You had and some of these folks, the stars that that have lost homes. I mean, you've probably seen
yep.
some of the names, Billy Crystal, being one of them. But a lot of delays, a lot of production delays, which
Mhm.
for us and for maybe people that cover and in the business, are going to change some release dates.
Yeah,
Release dates of movies. It's
possibly.
going to change some release dates of some shows. You got like a Last of Us actor. You got Ricky Lake. Carrie Ellis from the Princess Bride. There are some actors. It's kind of interesting because in a lot of those homes, it's like actors that have been in Hollywood for a long time,
Hmm.
right? Like a really long time. It's not a lot of people that are just brand new and
Right.
making all that money, coming in. But
You
you know,
you saw Steve Gutenberg that clip,
yeah,
right?
I did, I did. Yep. Um, but yeah, like MGM Studios cancels a premiere. Now the thing about stuff like that is, and people tend to forget. Yes, you have the actors and you have all these people that show up for it, right? The stars. There's a lot of below the line
Yep.
people that are affected by the cancellations of a lot of these things.
The
You're
servers, the
you're
ushers,
a
the
hundred percent.
cleanup crews,
Yes,
the lights and camera and sound people that are that are going through there.
yes.
The just the staff in general. There's a lot of people affected by that. It's not just the Hollywood actors and their multi-billion-dollar accessory factories that have produced the jewelry and outfits that they're wearing.
No, that's exactly right. And so there are a lot of people that are out there like you or I that work in that industry, but you're not in front of the camera. You're behind the camera, you're creating sets, you're doing, and those are the people that not only were affected by stuff like this, but affected by the strikes,
Yep.
right? Affected by these work stoppages. So it's been a pretty rough year and it
3 years.
may very
It's been
well,
rough
yeah.
3 years.
Yeah, pretty much, and it's kind of really changed. It's changed a lot of these release dates and a lot of stuff that you had the Academy Awards originally scheduled to be announced on Friday, January 17th. They delayed it for a couple days. There's Grammy parties that have been changed and been rescheduled and stuff like that. And so yeah, man, I think the main thing, yeah, even the late night talk shows, which I think at this point are on life support.
Yeah, they
Uh,
really are.
you know,
Nobody's watching them. Nobody cares. Everybody's going to YouTube for live
a-
commentary or whatever.
absolutely. Yep, they are. But yes, as to try to lure productions back to California, Gavin Newsom has proposed more than doubling the state's available tax credits for TV and film productions to $750 million a year. If passed, it would offer the country's second most generous incentive package for production after Georgia, which, if you've noticed, folks, at the end of movies, when the credits roll and you see
Georgia
that
Peach.
Georgia Peach show up, that's what that's all about.
Yeah.
People are going to other places in droves to
Yep.
film and make their shows.
You know where the number one place is right now?
Vancouver.
I was going to say the UK, because
Oh,
they
yeah, big tax credits.
offer the most tax incentives to
Yes.
to film there, and but unfortunately, if you do that, you have to actually release your budget
Your
numbers.
financials.
Your financials have
That's
to be
right.
released in the
Yes.
UK to properly get the tax credits for you to deserve, and that information is made public. So you can't fudge the numbers like Disney's been doing over the last almost 10 years now.
You do get the real deal stuff, and you can sift through it and find all the pertinent information you want,
Yeah.
including and mainly for most people the budgets
Mm-hmm.
for these movies. And when you find out they spent 400 million on
Mm-hmm.
Indiana Jones and the Dial
two
of
hundred and
Destiny.
eighty million dollars on the Acolyte TV show.
I mean, that hurts. That
Yeah.
hurts. And yeah, Dreadnought, I didn't want to ignore this too. I agree with you. I think, you, I, Matthew, anybody out there watching, yes, we ultimately will end up paying for,
Yep.
things that have to be rebuilt out there. And
Yep.
unfortunately, through negligence, some of it may very well end up being criminal if I mean, I don't know how that
Well, they
all will
arrested
work
one
out.
guy, but I think they had to let him go because they didn't have enough evidence to charge him
Oh,
with
was that the
anything.
flamethrower guy that had a little
Yeah.
yellow can?
Yep.
Yeah, that was made big news for a minute. They needed
For a
a
minute.
break of big news.
Hmm.
There's a few shows that have started production again. NCIS, for those of you that still like watching the procedurals. Papa's House, I don't know what the hell that is. And The Neighborhood, I know that's a show that a lot of people still watch. Jimmy Kimmel has gone back into production. Let's see. Hacks, Suits LA, Ted, Loot, the Amazon one that I'm interested in, Amazon's Fallout Season 2, got affected. That got halted. And unfortunately, as long as it takes some of these shows after they release them and you can binge them, and then it takes 2 years or more to get another
Yep.
season out, it's even worse news for them, right? Uh,
Yeah, on average, it's been taking about 3 years
oh
for a
my
season two to
God.
come out from a binged watched show. This is how much binge watching has hurt the thing, which is also why, in general, they built into the budget 2 seasons. So if they give you a green light, in general, they give you 2 seasons so that you could either divide it or however you want to spend that money. But they're anticipating you to do this for this, but then they give you enough for the second season
Right.
because they don't know how it's going to be received. And unfortunately, it's cost them a couple of times. So they've pulled back on that. So they're not doing that as much, which again, it's slowing production down, which is why we haven't seen the last season of Stranger Things, because those kids are going to be off graduating from college by the time we see it.
It really is like it's changed the model so much, and we've brought this up, but
Yep.
it's changed the model so much that the uncertainty, and then you get an actual great show,
Mm-hmm.
but then you've got to wait 3 years for the
Yep.
next season, and if it's a bingeable show on top of that, they don't even get to experience 2 months
Yep.
worth. And on top of that, most of them are 8 episodes, right?
Now,
They're not 24 episodes. They're not, 16
I,
episodes.
well, so for instance, example, a show like One Piece is hit this problem because they knew that they were going to make more, right? So they go into production and they make this first season, and now it's 3 years later, almost 4 years later, that we're going to get the second season, right?
Right.
And it sucks because we just rewatched that
It was
series, and
good.
it's
Yes,
really good.
it's
It's
really
really
good.
good,
One
and
Piece, y'all need to watch it. It's
and
really good.
and that was a 2 week discussion, and it was gone.
Yep.
It lasted maybe a little bit longer because it was pretty popular. People enjoyed it. They're like, it's a good live action retelling, and the actors did a great job. They were all having fun. It all looked like a great thing. I hope that it doesn't fall under the Netflix season 2 stinker
Oh
thing, because
man,
the vast majority of Netflix season 2s are garbage.
it's true, and unfortunately too, they end up canceling a
Yeah.
lot of stuff. They cancel a lot of stuff. Shows that people love season one, then all of a sudden season two comes out, doesn't do as well, and then it's like, yep, we're done. We're washing our hands. We're not going to save this, and
Yeah.
and that's a shame. And again, a lot of them are 8 episodes. I mean, and but the production budgets are so large
Yeah.
that that's all they can spend. It's truly fascinating how the industry has changed in that
Hmm.
regard when it just comes to making what quote unquote would be network television, or
Right.
pretty much. And I want to say hey to Joe Fan 84 Legend series and Daredevil Dave sliding in here, man. Uh, Always good to see y'all. Don't you worry about it, Dave. You're good, man. Get that phone charger. Oh
That's
wow.
good. That's good to hear, Joe Fan 84.
Yes,
On the mends, our prayers are with you.
absolutely. Yeah, definitely good. That is good news. Yeah,
I've had
Squid Games.
I've had no desire to watch Squid Game season 2, and from the mediocre response, I don't think I will.
It's now by the watch minutes, this is the third highest rated show behind Squid Game season 1 and Wednesday, I believe. Is the both highest rated in minutes watched or whatever on Netflix. Squid Game season 2 is right up there with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm in episode 4 right now.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm with you. The first season, I watched that thing as fast as
First
I
season was
could.
great. I
I
love the
I,
first
I
season.
couldn't wait, and I was on edge. And this one has not had that same feeling, and it's
Nope.
because it's a little bit of a deja vu.
Right.
It's just here we are again.
Hmm.
If it took different location or whatever, but I just don't know what else you can do with that show.
Yeah.
I will
Well,
tell
and
you,
that's why the creator said it was a one and done season. He wasn't going to do
yeah,
another one, but because it became so popular, truckload of money comes up. Okay, let's make a season 2 or
yeah,
3.
and it is one of those situations where I get it. I mean, I do. I understand the people that watch it, they want more. They want more. Um, and so, hey, okay, let's give them what they want, which in the past, sometimes we have not gotten. So it's like,
Yeah.
hey, let's give them some more. But I just don't know what else you can really do with that. And also, they're setting up a season 3. And I
Well,
just really don't know what you do with
yeah.
that.
Yep.
So, and Viper Scout joins us, says Lupin had a great first season, but has been diminishing returns. I think you see that with
Or
with um,
the live action Lupin was you liked that? Oh, I don't know, man.
I I have not seen it, but I will say that some of these shows will start out really hot, and even if that first season's not as monumental as a Squid Games or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
I I thought the second season was canceled anyway, but
It still may capture enough people, but then after that, it's kind of where do you go? I mean,
yeah,
really, and the costs are so astronomical at this point
yeah.
that I think I wonder if we're gonna see as we move forward. I wonder if we're gonna see production
Oh,
values start to
gotcha.
okay, okay,
Different show, different show. Gotcha.
okay.
Thank
Um, but I wonder if we're gonna see production values scaled back a bit, and we're gonna maybe notice that where they
well,
went all in, put a lot of money, and really tried to make a lot of these shows pop that
yep.
didn't do well, and then they're gonna kind of pull back, and we're
They
gonna
have to.
see,
They're going
yeah,
to
it
be
has to
forced to.
be,
They're going
yeah,
to
it
be
has to be,
forced to go back to an older model where you test things out, and they've got to be lower budgets, and you've got to make people work for it. You got to make people be creative for it. You got to strip it down, bare bones it, and see what comes of it. And then if it's popular, if it grows, then you can grow a budget, right? Because
right,
it's gonna do something for you. But that's going to invite the well, hopefully, the rom com, the horror film, those things are going to be more prevalent because you can do those on the cheap, easy,
right,
and it doesn't cost a lot, and you can get it out there, and you can do it relatively quickly,
with a good
uh,
script, good
with
jokes,
good script, good
whatever,
jokes,
yeah.
and you get the horror films. They're again, they've always been low budget, and the low budget ones are the best ones.
Yeah, and tend to be the either A, the cult classics, or B, just really hit with people like Terrifier 3 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Clint Jorgensen is also in the house as well. Just want to say hey to Clint.
What's up?
And he liked season 2, I'm guessing, of Squid Game. But watched it more because there wasn't too much stuff worth watching, and we were kind of mentioning that earlier. It
Yeah.
is a little bit of slow season right now, and so there's not a lot of news. There's not a lot coming out. I would like to discuss it, especially when I'm done with it, Clint. So I kind of maybe keep you posted on that and see if maybe we can kind of pull that off, and do maybe a spoiler talk about it, for sure.
Yeah,
But
there's not
yeah,
much coming out, which is why we've been rewatching Chuck and One Piece.
yeah, it's interesting because it really is. And when I say slow season, folks, like when I scan the news every week, but especially as we get closer to showtime, to pull some of those stories that may be interesting a little bit. And yeah, just looking through today, I mean, there's a little bit here and there, but it's pretty tough. The fires have really dominated most
Yeah, oh yeah,
everything, and
yeah.
so it has been a little tough. And Legend series, thank you very much, and I know many others as well. Hit the like button if you can, for sure. For those of you sliding in here, we always appreciate it, man. Much better when we have friends stopping by. Sabir is here as well. What's going on, Sabir? Good to see you. uh, so I'm guessing a lot of y'all out there collected comics for years. I'm sure.
I want to hit this one real quick.
That's
You
go
see,
right ahead.
you've seen clips of Picard 3. Looks interesting. I'm trudging through. Okay, so if you listen to what I said, and I've
We
been
have the
saying it
same
from day
opinion.
one,
We have the same opinion.
you don't have to watch season 1 and 2 to watch season 3. Season
Nope.
3 was made by Terry Matalas. He's a person who actually cared about Star Trek because Alex Kurtzman gave up on the project because he said this 1 and 2 seasons were so bad, they were a failure. So he brushed it aside, gave it to somebody else. He knocked it out of the park, and season 3 by itself is the perfect epitaph to the next generation.
It's so good.
You will enjoy season 3, and you don't have to continue watching season 1 and 2. Just forget about it. Just move on and jump to season 3, because anything in there you'll be caught up on if it's relevant, and they'll even brush past some stuff because it's really not important to the story.
And
It's
and
stupid.
and Viper Scouts, as you know, look, I know I'm still watching though, and I get that too,
Yeah,
because it's just kind of once you start something,
yeah,
especially
I get
especially
it.
if you do find bits and pieces, if you do find things that you do like out of it, now you use the word trudging, so that tells me that you're definitely slogging your way through it. But I will tell you, as someone who is not a huge Star Wars or Star Trek fan, my fault. But did enjoy the Next Generation. I did enjoy the original movies, cast years ago. Um, but yeah, Picard season 3 is really good.
Yeah.
Like it's very very well done.
Yep.
Good script, got good storylines, and you're right. It
It
is a
pops. Each
perfect
episode,
send off.
yeah, each episode pops. It draws
Yeah,
you in. It ties back to something that you know or familiar with from the TV show Next Generation, or even some of the movies, right? It's all familiar stuff,
it
and
really
so
is.
it really was good. Sorry,
It's
didn't mean to
it's
derail it, but
no, you're good. No, it is. It is worth watching. I want to say hey to Mr. Wonderful. There is no Monday night, so I guess we can take the time slot, maybe. It's probably after the time slot, I'm guessing. I love the whole Monday Night Raw conversation and everything. I think it's great. I do. I get a kick out of a Punk with toys, kind of cutting in there. It's like we're your second hand viewing. It's like, hey man, this is how it goes. But yeah, and then Suits is a show that I have not actually gotten into yet, but I am curious for sure. Definitely. But yeah, man, Picard season 3, offhand comment, but no, I agree. I think it's great. Now,
yep,
the reason I brought up the Diamond Comics is
there we go.
because um for those of you that collected comics for years, it's a little bit of a rough time for Diamond Comics. They let's see, there we go. If I can get it. I know we got the great yellow ad screen all around. It's
Ooh,
like, yeah, browsing the internet on a computer these days, even on your phone, it's even worse. But like, good God, they make it
yeah,
difficult. Diamond Comics Distributors declares bankruptcy. Um, it's chapter 11.
shocker,
Yeah, big
shocker.
shocker.
I thought it was going to happen 10 years ago, but
Yeah, well, it probably should have. I don't know how they held on for this long.
I do. I know
Um,
exactly how.
well, and I'll let you dive into that momentarily. It says that now I find this funny. It says retailers can expect business as usual. Orders remain unaffected with secured financing in place.
Bullshit. Bullshit. The last 2 months of my comic book deliveries have been delayed by at least a week from their drop
Really?
dates. Yes. So Titan Comics isn't a large order, but it provides some of the best comic books because they're producing the Conan books. And my comic book store says it's Diamond. Diamond has been running a week behind on their deliveries. And that's been for the last 2 or 3 months. So that's
Well,
bullshit.
it's a distribution model that really kind of helped bury the comic industry.
It
Um,
did.
yeah.
Yeah. So you can turn directly to Brian Hibbs and the people at Diamond propagating bullshit. Diamond forced comic book stores or people purchasing from them. If you want to get the premier titles, you have to buy all of these other titles. These titles that nobody wants, that will be slashed and thrown in the dumpster because nobody's going to buy them. You may sell, 1 to 5 copies, and you have to buy 25 books from each one of these titles to get the big titles. And so they were forcing this. This is how they survived. And the variant covers. Oh, you want the variant covers for this, that, and the other? You have to buy 100 of these books to get this one variant cover.
Right.
Just one of them in your store. So they pulled all these tricks and games to have people buy multiples of each cover. And then the numbers have slowly dropped off. Well, not slowly. They fell off a cliff in the
Yeah,
last
they did.
6-7 years. And even before that, they weren't as good. In the 90s, they got an artificial bump because all of a sudden the variant cover thing came about.
Yes.
And the variant cover really did destroy the comic book industry because it gave people false numbers. Whereas in the 80s, if a Marvel book made less than 500,000 sold copies, they canceled the book. Right now, you've got 80,000, 30,000. You got books that are only selling 30,000 copies
Yeah.
that are making it through the production line because they don't have anything else. But we can put out so many extra covers, the speculators will buy them. So they honed this market of the speculators. And then they come out with the most controversial titles and the controversial things because that's going to get the speculators interested. That's going to get the speculators to buy, and they did, but then they can't resell them because nobody cares.
Well,
And
and then you have comic shops that are saddled with all these books they didn't want, but just to get the book that they do want to sell, right? Or the books they
yeah,
do want to sell, then you're saddled with all this extra stock that nobody wants to buy.
right.
And then with the variants, I mean, just my own experience just in the last several months, but for instance, going to get the G.I. Joe Enter John universe, and there's like 14 freaking covers, dude. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
it's
that's on the low side of things because
that is on the low side. But it was unbelievable. I mean, it
yeah,
was unbelievable because I'm like, and of course, they only carry at the local comic shop here that I go to. They had about six, I
yeah,
guess. But even then, it was just like, come on, like this is, and then the one that really, and for those of you that have bought the GI Joe in particular, uh, the limited runs like the Duke and Scarlet and Destro, Cobra Commander, they also have this one that's just a white. It's just a white page,
yeah.
right? And then you open it, and then it's got like the artwork, but it's a non-color cover, but it's just got like a white page on the, and I'm just like, what?
You,
Why would you even
oh, so this
read
this
this?
okay. So this is important. So you don't even know. Okay,
I
so
don't
so
know.
so this is something that's in my opinion actually really cool, because I actually had one of these done. Right, is so what you do is you buy the book and it's got the title on there, but it's this blank white. Right, but you know what issue it is because it's got the issue number on there.
Right.
Then you go to a convention and you hand it to Larry Hama and you say, "Could you sketch me the cover, or could you sketch me this on the cover?"
Okay.
And so they go and they do a whole
Okay.
thing on it and they sketch you a
Got it.
cover by hand and sign it, and then you have your own personalized issue of the comic book.
Okay. I get that now. I just, you know, I guess the bottom line question for any business are there enough people like that that would be able to support this idea in the first place? No.
No.
And so it's a, demand thing. 3 Star says I'd like to see a band on variant covers. Mr. Wonderful also said, yeah, my son had a bunch of stuff delayed by Diamond for a few months.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that still, collect comics, yeah. I mean, when the variants first came out, you're right. It was kind of a false thing, and it's like, hey, look, we can capitalize on this, the speculation market. We can get it, but really that it didn't take long for that to cave in on itself. And then when the comics started getting worse and worse, right, then the industry just fell off a cliff.
Yep.
And it's been there ever since.
Because you'll see now, any of the old comic book stores that are still around, their comic book section is tiny. They have board games, they've got collectibles, they've got nerd merch, they've got action figures, they've got paints, they've got gaming tables, they've got magic
Yeah,
cards.
the board games in particular, or the
Yeah,
card games, right?
yeah,
Your Magic, stuff like that. I know the one that's maybe a little closer. I don't know. They're about the same distance, but one that's south, one's that's kind of northwest. The one northwest, it's more of albums,
mm,
old magazines like Rolling
yeah,
Stones from
nice.
1975. And
That's
they
cool.
do have some toys, some collectible toys, Nintendo
Yeah,
games, Atari, all that stuff. But they're not really into the Funkos. They're not into all that stuff.
right.
It is mostly all comics and albums is
Yeah,
what the whole store is. The other one is a lot of the Magic stuff, card games, stuff like that. And Viper Scout, yeah, definitely on that with the card game saving some of the comic stores, because you have people coming in spending time, maybe spending money on card packs and obviously other stuff. You got your Warhammer figures, or your stuff like that too. But you're right, a lot of them ended up going to more of the, I guess what you'd call a pop culture store rather than
yeah,
a comic store, right?
yeah. And the one that's near me that I go to on a regular basis, there used to be like 6 near me, and now that there's 2 near me.
Yeah,
and
no,
and
it's fallen
it,
off.
it's called Madness Games and Comics, right?
Okay.
So it's called Madness Games, and that's always what the title was, but 50% of the store used to be comic books. And then more than that, but slowly over time, the gaming section, the gaming tables just kept getting bigger and bigger of a section. And now you've got 10% of the store is comic books, and the rest of it is everything else.
Graf in the house says, let's not go too crazy. I'll accept any Jean Grey, Baroness, Wonder Woman, or Psylocke variant covers. And there still are people, and welcome in, by the way,
Yeah.
that obviously, yeah, still collect them, right?
Mm.
And are totally fine with that. But I would say overall, as a whole, it was a bit of it's a mirage, right, for
Yeah.
the industry as a whole. And so for those that do love them, and there's been a couple that I bought myself, but it's not something on the regular, I guess, that I would look
Yeah.
for and
You know,
do. But
so
there's a couple I liked.
yeah, I bought a couple of variant covers for Scarlet and Cobra Commander. I don't know if I got any for Destro or Duke, but I definitely got one for 3 Star.
And hey, some of them you're going to pay for.
Yeah,
You're going to pay for. I've seen
yeah.
some of them that are up there in the 20s or whatever as a new comic. And so yeah, I mean, and Mr. Wonderful obviously has a pretty cool comic shop that's still all comics where he's at, and
I don't know how they stay
I
in
love that.
business
I love to see that. Yeah, I don't
unless they're
know.
selling mostly back issues. I don't know how they're
Well,
staying
and
in
and
business.
also too, sometimes if you're just kind of the only game in town,
Yeah,
right?
that's
I mean, if you're
fair.
the only game in town, but I did want to say as far as Diamond, the UK distribution, evidently they said they're fine, that they're okay. But then we see here that they may be bought by a Canadian distributor Universal. But they put out a statement today that said, "Hey, look, we're okay over here in the UK.
Yeah,
You're not going to notice anything over here with us." This statement here from Diamond is just basically saying, "Hey, everything's going to be business as usual." Usually, when a company goes through Chapter 11, business as usual changes.
Yes.
So, if
It,
you're
it's going to be a
already having
major. It's going to be a major restructuring, and they're looking
now,
for an investor to come in and save them.
so listen to some of these reasons they give just to dig in just a little bit. It says, why did Diamond Comic Distributors decide to file for Chapter 11? The unexpected loss of certain exclusive publisher relationships, compounded by an overall contraction in consumer spending, increased inflation, and loss of margin on key print product lines,
Yep.
contributed to the decision. What were contributing factors in the industry? It says post pandemic. Uh, no, it's shrunk since the 90s.
Yep.
The
It
comic book
has.
industry at large has seen a decrease paired with rising operating costs. They've gone to more expensive paper, right?
Yep.
Uh, you
That was
know,
another dumb decision. They should have
I,
stuck with the newsprint on the floppies.
I agree. Let's see here. Dang my
And I mean, you know him. He's a friend of mine. 20 years ago, brought this up at a Diamond meeting. When they were discussing it all, and he's like, "Isn't this a problem that Diamond is a monopoly and the only one? Why isn't anyone else? If this was profitable or successful, why isn't there any competition?" And he was told to shut the f up, right?
right.
And he's like, well, okay. And that's 20 years ago. He saw the downfall of Diamond back then because he's like,
As a
this is
comic shop owner,
as a comic shop owner.
right?
It was unsustainable, and he knew it back then. And finally, duh, a couple years ago, DC and Marvel said we're not going to distribute through Diamond.
Right.
They brought it back to themselves, and you know what? Good on them, because Diamond was doing a crappy job of distributing books. You were getting damaged product all the time to stores, and there was no recourse. You had to buy stuff. You had to buy all this other stuff to get the stuff you actually wanted. So it was a scam.
And I think too, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. In the last 20 years, especially, we've seen an enormous shift from print media over to digital. And it's just the way it's what we live in now. And
Mhm.
while there are people that enjoy grabbing a good book and holding it in their hands, while there are people who enjoy grabbing a comic and reading through it, the way the world operates today is most people are reading on their phone, they're reading on their computer screen, and that even includes comics. And
Well, and
so,
that was another thing, is that Comixology was an interesting idea, and when Amazon took it over, they said forget about it, and they kind of dropped the whole Comixology thing and made it the Kindle thing.
right,
But
right,
they but that digital distribution damaged comic books in a lot of ways. And back initially, you could download PDFs from the website on Comixology, so you could have PDF files of
yeah, I
any of the
remember that.
comic books. Well,
Yep,
well, for certain publishers offered a encrypted format, and others didn't. And so, like, I have the whole GI Joe run on PDF files before the Skybound thing came out that IDW produced, because you could download all those PDFs.
right. That's how
So,
I read
digital
Invincible.
distribution.
That's
Yeah.
that's how I
Oh,
read
nice.
Invincible was on Comixology. Yep, that's how I first got introduced to that comic.
Yeah.
And the show was pretty damn cool. There's some stuff in it, but the last thing I want to mention this I thought was rather funny. Should I continue paying my outstanding invoices to Diamond? Of course, the answer is yes. All outstanding invoices, back debt payments, and payment plans remain due and payable under the usual terms and schedule and should be paid. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Right. Uh huh. That's gonna happen.
I'll never forget. It was about 30 years ago. I had it was a guitar player that had bought. I can't remember. It was like a pawn shop or something. And the pawn shop, he was making payments or something. Whatever every month, but it was something he didn't even want. I can't remember. But I remember when it burned down.
Oh yeah.
And of course, then you have all these people that either are just like and it was all paperwork back then. None of it was stored on computers. There's no
Yep.
hard drives. It was all files.
Yep.
And I just remember some of the musicians in the community were like, like yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Like I'm not paying back
No
or
doubt.
whatever it was. Uh, Yeah, Joe fan.
JoeFan84. The first place I would check is called mycomicshop.com, and it was started by a comic book store owner from here in the DFW Metroplex named uh, Buddy. I forget his last name. Buddy started Lone Star Comics back in the 90s, I think. And he opened up a digital service where you could find and collect a lot of different books. And so he's got the best online system and back catalog of books. So I would start there before going to eBay or digging around a bunch of other shops,
That's
because
cool.
that's a good place to start.
Yeah, man. Definitely. I mean, and some of those, I mean, depending on the condition, right? Some of
Mm-hmm.
those, man, they get up there. Now, on average, when I've looked, especially like the GI Joe line, which
Mm-hmm.
I've replaced, bought some, replaced some over the last couple of years or whatever. They average out around $4.
Yep.
It can get you one that's fine, to open up and read. About $4. Nothing too crazy. But yeah, man, it's look, going back looking at old comics, I know that the ink work and I know the paper and everything, it's not slick and it's not what it is now, but I
Yep.
think you got more comic for the buck, right?
Yep.
And more pages and obviously better stories ultimately, I think. But yeah, all those changes and it kind of leads to where we're at now with Diamond, and I don't, I think we'll see where it is in 20 more years, I guess. I just, the way we are, how we live now,
Yeah.
I just don't know how comics really survives.
Well, and
Um,
this is what a lot of people have brought up, and I think what Eric July is doing is the only way comic books survive. And a lot of people have talked about this before too. Is the graphic novel format? So you get a complete story, you get 4 issues or 6 issues or whatever it's going to be. You bind it together. You spend 6 months and you make it, and then you put
right.
it out there, or whatever, however long it takes you to make it, and then you put it out there. And quite honestly, those are the projects that I've been most engaged with. This Dracula comic book that's being put out there right now, that's been really awesome. Same thing with that. Eric July, several other people. If you're putting out single issues, the floppies are dead. It is unsustainable to
Yeah.
continue single issue floppies at this point. So putting out collections and all this stuff, that's what's selling. People wanted to put it on a bookshelf. They want it to look
Yeah,
nice.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Instead of just putting it in a box, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Um, I bought a couple boxes, but it's only because I've been collecting some of these newer
Yeah.
lines that are out. But yeah, you're right. I mean, putting it on a bookshelf as something a little bigger, and your trades. You get especially the trade type stuff. Where you get multiple issues, so you can either complete a run, right, or you can at least
Yep.
get deep into it and not have to wait a month or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Shane, same time toys sliding in here. What's up, buddy?
What's up? Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I like the IDW Hammer Run and all this other stuff, but you know, I have all the issues, but I like on my bookshelf having all the trades
It
collections.
does look good.
It looks nice, and
Yeah.
then I'm missing some because they stopped publishing the last issue that they could. Single issue came out in December, and they lost license, so they couldn't ever make the trade for the last grouping of issues. So
No,
now
no.
now I've got to wait for Skybound to get around to reprinting all of the IDW run to get
Okay.
those last several issues before the IDW books. So,
Ah,
or the
that
Skybound books.
sucks.
So yeah,
That sucks. I mean, such as is life in the
yeah.
comic industry, right?
I've got the single issues. I'm
Hey,
I'm good, but
let's
I've
let's
got to
let's face
got
it.
to
How
get them
many of
organized.
us, how many of us out there, collected a run for a while and then you kind of fell off, and then all of a sudden it's like, man, I need to go back and get that. It's years later. It
Yeah,
is what it is, right?
yeah.
Frostbite, how you doing, buddy? Good
What's
to see
up?
you. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I mean, I still like comic books, but industry is on life support at this point,
It
and for
is
comic book shop owners especially.
so much
Uh,
so that Disney and Warner Brothers are talking about selling off DC Comics and
Interesting.
Marvel Comics. So both companies are contemplating cutting ties with that side of the business.
Right.
And I don't know how they would exactly do that, because they want to keep all the IP that they can, but at the same time they want to offload this whole comic book thing because it's not doing them any favors right now. It's costing them more money than they're making from it, even though they're paying pennies to the creators that are out there writing the books for them.
Right. What do you think about this? Graf says, I wish they'd do a Reader's Digest sized comics. Remember getting G.I. Joe 1 back in the day would save so much space on my shelf. That's interesting. I mean, from a print perspective, as we get older, it's probably a lot harder to read, right?
Graph, it's called manga, and it's a different
That's
line,
true.
and they're
That's
better
true.
they're better stories, and you can go find them at Barnes and Noble for the most part. So if you look at comic book sales, it's mostly manga
It
and
is.
scholastic books that are sold, not actual comic books. So
Yeah, somebody
Barnes,
made that comment earlier about the Scholastic.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Scholastic changed things a lot too, but yeah, Barnes and Noble's got manga. Go check them out. They're actually better stories, I'm sure.
yeah, and Shane says, I got all the singles, no matter how bad I wanted the bookshelf edition. The wife saw the price and threatened me with bodily harm. Yeah, I get that. I totally get it. And some of them, I mean, too, those, like even the compendium, I mean, the giant books. I saw that giant G.I. Joe one, and it's just super thick. But you told me that the actual spine, the way you can open it, you can actually read it, and it's not so weird, like, I love that. I love that set. I'll be honest with you. I 100% y'all forgot to do it, even though I intended on doing it. And then I remember watching a stream and somebody was like, yeah, well, it's finished. And I was like, what? And then I went, oh no. And I completely forgot. It's great, man. Looks great. Hang on. Let me put you on full screen. Let me swap you, put you on full screen. I love the look of it. Fantastic. Yeah. Nice G.I. Joe compendium. Look at that, baby. Oh, yeah. Who is that guy? You know who that guy is right there? The page you open? Who is that guy?
What, the soft masters on there,
Yep.
right? I opened it right
Yep.
up to
Right
up
to
the Punisher, the first Punisher movie, second Punisher movie. I don't remember. The one of the Punisher movies ripped off this entire scene for that movie, and they said, "Oh, it's a Punisher thing." It was like, no, Hama did it before they did it in Punisher. Sorry,
That's
bud.
true. And Legend series, it does look like a great book to read while pooping. Yes.
I mean, this.
It's going to be a real long one there, buddy.
Yeah.
Plan on getting through that.
So if anybody got this and haven't opened them yet, but on the very back, in the back of the book, there is a poster in each one of them. So all 4 volumes have a poster. There's one of Cobra Commander, one of Duke, one of the G.I. Joe team, and one of the Cobra team.
That's great, man.
And so there's stuff throughout these books that you got to check out. But each one of them has a different color, metallic finish on it. You've got red, blue, gold, and silver, and it coincides with the star that's on the G.I. Joe logo for that book. And then I got the Cobra set. There's a G.I. Joe set that's all blue, and they have different embossed characters on each one of these. So this is Cobra Commander, Serpentor, Baroness, and Storm Shadow on this one, and then the G.I. Joes have got different ones. But this collects everything that they produced in that era. So it's got the Transformer crossovers, it's got the special missions, it's got the yearbook stuff that's different, and it's got and it came with so many other things. I mean, between bookmarks and art prints, and there's 3 other individual issues that came with it that were reprints. But they did a new foil cover for issue 21, and there's a little letter from Larry Hama in the back of it. Art prints, pins, prints. This thing came with a lot.
It looked
of cool
great.
stuff.
Yeah, it looked great, and I can't believe I completely and utterly forgot. Just and yeah, Clint, they are. It's like 4 Bibles basically.
Yeah, I mean the thing weighs about 30 pounds. So
I wish I went to a hotel and found one of those in the table.
Have you heard the good word from Storm Shadow?
Well, in that version, it's the bad word. Actually, yeah. This is before he switched teams.
So,
Damn
and
it.
I will say that the paper on this is not exactly newsprint, but
Okay.
it's not glossy finished. It's not gloss finished, so it doesn't have that slickness to it. So
Yeah.
it actually feels like a real comic book. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Same time toys. Yeah. I told her I was gonna have to pick it up later for 3 times the price. I got the look. Yeah. I bet you did.
So in the back of volume 4 is all the GI Joe Transformer
That's
stuff.
cool.
But
Love
yeah,
it, man. And you know it's so funny too because I had all that stuff. I still do have a few, and I've got Transformers like 1 through 7 still, and I think that
dang, that's awesome.
GI Joe Transformers 1 in there. Yeah, no, it's
They are the worst versions of the comics, but the other one that I wanted to get was I wanted to get Battle Action Force, but I just couldn't get that
yeah,
one.
nah, I get it. Yeah, but it looked great, and of course, yeah, if you want to get it now, you're gonna pay
Got
for it.
it's got the command files in there too, the battle
Yeah,
order.
I always love. Yeah, I always love those. I always love those when they came out. You get all your file cards and you just flip through. And I mean, I used to draw all the figures and stuff. I was in art for a while and commercial art in high school and like loved sketch art and so
Love
yeah, I
that
used to
stuff.
draw all those guys all the time. But yeah,
So I
man,
love Larry Hama's
looks great.
sketches and sketch covers
Yep.
and all that stuff.
Well, go buy you that variant cover, and before he stops being able to
Uh,
draw, go get him. Go get him to sign or sketch something out for you.
well, so there's the one
There's your boy.
that's the one that should have been Rocky Bell.
Yep,
You know, they redid it for the reprints, so the only way to have it is to have the original issue.
yep, yeah, man. Um, let's see. Does it have Viper Scott says? Does it have Hot Potato and the comedy profiles from issue 1?
So it does have Hot Potato. The
Oh wow!
profiles should be somewhere else in there.
I just saw the Thunder Machine.
Yeah. So and then there's this one too.
Ooh,
So
okay.
this is the one that Todd McFarlane, the issue of GI Joe that Todd McFarlane did. Um, and so it was an issue, and then he did all of the artwork for this issue, and they said this sucks, and had somebody else redo the artwork and publish that issue. And then
Wow.
later on, he blew up as Todd McFarlane, and
Yeah.
so they said we'll release this as a special,
Okay.
and threw that out as a special edition version. And
Three
it's a good issue, but
3 Star says that the omnibus greater than compendium.
you mean the IDW ones that weren't finished?
You talking about the big one that you got? They had it at Joe Fest too.
Uh,
The big
Omnibus better than Compendium for what?
3 Star. You're talking about the one you got. He'll put it in here in a second. But
Yeah,
let's
I'm not.
see.
I'm not.
Carson. Yeah, Carson.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that one
Yeah.
also weighs 30 pounds, but that's all just artwork, and it's amazing. Don't get
It
me
is.
wrong.
It is cool, but I do like all the comics like that in that set, and it's beautiful. It just
Yeah,
looks beautiful. And it's got the raised artwork on it, right on the
yeah.
outside.
It's all embossed. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yep. Gotta love it, baby. Gotta love it.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's my fault for forgetting.
yeah.
I'm a terrible person.
It's. I mean, you know what? I've got a bunch of IDW volumes if you want those, because I've got 15 volumes of the IDWs and 4 volumes of the special missions, and then 1 volume for the yearbooks. If you want all those separate, I can work you a deal on that.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll work it out. I'll talk to you about it. We'll see.
But it's see, there's the
Yeah,
pit,
man.
and right after the pit, it's got the hot potato right in
That's
there.
great.
So yeah, it's got that beeline story because they weren't sure which story was going to do better. And the mainline story is good and has been the one that's been reprinted the most. But they used to run backup stories in a lot of books because they weren't sure how one was going to do, or if they had extra pages, because they used to actually print more than 22 pages for comic books.
Right. Yeah, no kidding. Shane's going to meet the Todd father on the 8th of February.
All
Yeah,
right.
they had to sell a kidney for it. That's a shame.
Oh, oof.
That's terrible. I hate to hear that. I hope everything's okay.
You going to bag him on his female action figure conversation? Or
Ask him why he has so many damn Batmen. That's what 3 Star wants to know.
yeah, well,
Um,
yeah, because they sell. That's why.
um, so so look, um, I got a couple more stories. I did want to go over kind of the projections for Captain America, but I did come
Oh
across
yeah,
this interesting story for y'all about a French woman who was scammed out of $850,000 by an
yeah. Oof.
AI Brad Pitt. Um, stories like these always make me wonder, like, what person would think they were communicating with a real actor, especially one such as Brad Pitt, and then allow themselves to be scammed out of $850,000.
At what point do you realize that the multimillionaire is asking you for money?
Yes.
Hey,
Or,
you
or,
is he asking you to donate to one of his charities?
so
I mean, what?
so so it says a French woman says she was scammed out of her life savings by an AI Brad Pitt. $850,000 is nothing to sneeze at, that's for sure, and it looks like she did a good
Yeah,
job saving. 53-year-old woman named Anne has revealed she was scammed out of 850,000 K after believing she was in a long-term relationship with the
which
real
you've never met.
Hollywood star.
A long-term relationship you've never met.
It says the scam began when she was contacted by a scammer claiming to be Pitt's mother, Jane, who told me her son needed someone like me. And her communication lasted for more than a year. Now that's a hell of a scammer. Holy, that's a long con. At first, I said to myself that it was fake, that it's ridiculous. But I'm not used to social media, and I really didn't understand what was happening to me. Using AI technology to emulate Brad Pitt, the scammer sent personalized photos and messages to the woman, leading her to believe the hoax. They later coerced her into sending nearly $1 million for a kidney treatment. Now, if you look at these pictures, these are the pictures of him and I. Oh my God. Come on. Come on. I'm serious. Come on. Look at Brad in the hospital, man. At the Oscars. Look at the face.
Uh, yeah.
This is shocking. Couldn't access his money due to his divorce. He was undergoing cancer treatment. Uh, says the woman shrugged.
Was okay? So, searching regular news sites, is Brad Pitt receiving cancer treatment
That's what
in
I'm
in
saying.
in the news? I mean, that would be a thing, right?
It
I mean, if he if
literally.
he if he if he needed money for cancer, don't you think the media would be broadcasting this to high heaven, asking for donations? I mean,
I mean,
wow.
look at
Okay.
these pictures, y'all. Like, look, I'm just gonna go right to the tweet here and just get us on and get us. Here we go. I mean, look at. Come on. I mean, but you're right. So initially, you would think, okay, let me look up. Is Brad Pitt in trouble? Is he having health issues? Just off the rip.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
and and if you don't find anything, right? I would love to know. Actually, Graph, I would love to know. Like, it would be all over. Yeah, Joe fan. It would be all over the internet. Brad
Yeah.
Pitt needing money, health problems. He can't access his money because of his divorce. This woman's 53 years old, so she's not 85. She's not,
Yeah.
and usually a lot of times scammers will prey on elderly
Yeah.
people. And so this is someone in our age bracket. It's shocking to me when I see stories like this because let's not kid ourselves. Look, somebody scammed me out of, let's say, 10K, 5K, hell, $500, whatever. That's a lot of money. $850,000 of your savings. that you have given over. And it says the story's gone viral. A lot of cyberbullying towards the victim, which I could
Yeah.
honestly see.
Yep.
But it says, the woman struggles with mental health problems, left her husband because of the scam before. So she left her husband thinking she was going to be dating Brad Pitt. So she left her own marriage to go out with Brad Pitt, having never met him before in person, and then realized she'd been conned after seeing real life reports of his real life girlfriend. And says, I asked myself why they chose to do harm like this. I've never harmed anyone. Yeah, it's because that's what scammers do.
Yeah.
And you just, this is a situation that, this is not someone telling you to go buy Google Play cards and Visa gift cards and stuff like that. This is, this is, you've got to be smarter than this. I'm sorry. I saw
Yep.
this story and I get it, but I can't get it.
Yeah.
This is shocking to me.
Yep.
And but
And you'll never
she,
find it because you're using AIs and
no,
VPNs.
no,
And you'll
she
never
filed a
find that
police
person.
report. Of course,
Yeah.
nothing's gonna come of this. But she left her husband. I can't, like I can't have sympathy for this at this
I
point.
no.
Right? I can't.
Yeah,
Shocking.
no. Where I mean, if you're gonna be that dumb, you got to pay the price, and that's the piper's price right there.
Right.
Sorry.
Speaking of Tomb Raider, I saw this comment.
Oh
So
God,
there was
no,
another story I wanted to bring
no,
up. Oh yeah,
no! I
we're
don't
gonna
want to
do it.
believe this. I'm gonna
Yep.
Delete this from my mind. I don't even want to see the picture.
We're
No,
we're we're
don't
gonna
show it
do
to
it.
me.
Yep, we're gonna do
Sophie,
it.
no, Sophie.
Sophie Turner, ladies and gentlemen, you know her, you
Ah,
love her. Sophie Turner here on the left. Evidently, it says Tomb Raider, Sophie Turner and Lucy Boynton testing for Laura Croft in number one. The problem is Phoebe Waller-Bridge producing a Tomb
yeah.
Raider show or series or movie. But it says in what's shaping up to be one of the hottest TV casting searches this fall, Amazon has assembled a wish list of accomplished young actors for the role of Lara Croft in Tomb Raider, Prime Video's high-profile series adaptation of the video game. Adaptation. All right, Sophie Turner is not a good actress. If
Nope.
anybody saw Dark Phoenix, even in Game of Thrones, she was the least interesting character in the entire series that ended up surviving. And she's not good. And why in the world she would be considered? Is it because of her accent? I guess, right? Uh, you know, um, I
This is a woman that divorced her husband and ran away from her kids because she wanted to go party, and then decided, oh wait, I regret that now because I've matured a little bit. But oh, too late. Sorry, so sad. Another dumb decision. Bye bye. So
right? Yeah,
pay your dues.
yeah, and Clint, yeah, man. You know, and he's talking about the the Brad Pitt story, but yeah, Tomb Raider is a no red zone. I mean, obviously they'll dye the hair, but, for Laura, I would
Hey,
assume
you know what?
Lara.
Hold on a sec. Time out. Time out. They've cut off so many redheads. They've gotten rid of so many redheads.
Absolutely, they
If
have.
Tomb Raider becomes a redhead, I'm okay with it. I mean,
Well,
Laura Croft
and you
doesn't
know
need a
what?
soul.
I could see where, like, red highlights. But
Whatever.
this is not the actress, and of course the previous movie with Alicia Vikander, I think, they obviously wanted to go in a direction that gets as far away from those original video games that we all remember.
Yeah, that's the problem. You need
Right.
Sydney Sweeney to play
Yes.
Tomb Raider,
Hello.
right? I
Hello.
mean, come on.
Hello. Hello. And so here's the deal.
I love the Angelina Jolie movies. I'm just saying.
You guys, look, I like the first one. The
For-
second one, I was not as big a fan of.
Whatever. It was the same for me. It's
And if you guys need to know, again, here's Sydney Sweeney, okay, and Sydney's Sweeney's, in the role as Laura's Crofts. Um,
I mean,
Anyway.
she could do the whole pixelated polygon cones,
Yes.
right?
But do you guys remember, and in the chat too, I know y'all do, you guys remember how big of a thing that the Laura Croft character was on
Yep.
TV covers, you know, or
Yep.
or
She,
TV shows,
she was everywhere.
magazine covers, you know, everything, right? And we didn't have a problem with it. Like
Yeah.
people didn't have a problem with it. It was celebrated. It was you know, oh, this character and oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, she's got big boobs, all that stuff. But it's like, yeah, this was awesome. People loved it. And girls were dressing up in Tomb Raider cosplay
Oh,
and the
so
whole
great.
even back then.
Oh man,
And
that was the best time to go to Comic Con when you had Slave Leia
oh,
and
stop
Tomb
it.
Raider Laura Croft running around in cosplay all the time.
So that's what I mean. Like it was celebrated, and now that's looked on as oh, how dare anybody like that portrayal? How dare anybody care for that portrayal of the character with the big boobs and the hips and
I
tiny
I
waist and all
I'm
that? And I'm like, a lot of people actually care about that.
I'm sorry. There's something genetic about things that we like, and
That's just the truth of it, really.
and you're never going to get away from it. And because you feel ashamed of your lifestyle choices or your genetics or whatever it is, I'm sorry. Uh,
Clint Clint Jorgensen, Angelina in Tomb Raider, and some of the best side boob me and my dad ever saw together in a movie. That's a great shared a father son bonding moment. Yeah, Sophie Turner is not a great actress.
no,
Menjoza, Sydney Sweeney gonna be awesome. Barbarella, okay.
no, I
Uh,
agree with you. And we do need a new Barbarella if they're,
yep.
I mean, that was, I think that was the first movie I ever saw on HBO at my friend's house.
Is this Shira? Is this Shira right here?
She could be.
Graph, you know.
I wouldn't mind if she was Princess Alora.
And I'm with like Frosty. I'm with look. It's let's not play. Let's imagine this character is a completely different looking person. That's the part that I hate,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
that's exactly what has happened. And when you have somebody like Phoebe Waller-Bridge that is in charge of this production, that's exactly what you're going to get because she wants to be as far away from
yeah.
that as possible. And if and I don't know if any of y'all have actually even seen just snippets of the animated series that came out recently for Tomb Raider, but I dare anybody to get past one episode.
Yeah.
I dare you guys out there. Look it up. Tell me if you can get through one episode. It is brutal, and they definitely want to let you know you're not a great person for wanting the original Laura Croft character. I'm with you. I'm Frosty. I'm with you there all the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been
Uh,
watching old replays of Attack of the Show and X
oh
Play.
man, did you see
Oh
Attack of the
man,
Doc?
I have it. I bought it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I bought
yeah,
it from Chris Score.
yeah, yeah. Me too.
Yep, yep, I
I
did.
So good.
Yep, I
I
love it.
love those days because I was engaged on all of that, and I saw the change happen. And people have said it before, but Twilight ruined Comic Con forever. Prior to that, it was a fun experience, and so is the G4 network and all of those
Oh,
shows and everything.
it was
It
so
was so
great.
much fun.
Those shows were a lot of fun. You know, and the personalities and what they were able to do, and
Yeah,
in a pre like where you didn't have everything at your disposal age. So you know if you're watching a video game review, you're watching it on a actual show, and you're like, this is
yep.
awesome. They're doing a video game review, you
Well,
know, and
and spawn so many personalities: Olivia Munn, Chris Hardwick, all these guys that spawn from that. And then Chris goes and gets himself canceled for a minute, but then you find out it's all lies, and he lost
yes,
he lost
yes,
everything based on these lies that were told
yes,
about him. He sold his company because of it, and he
right,
lost rights to the Nerdist, and
yep,
and then the Nerdist turned to nothing.
yeah.
It vanished.
It did vanish, and you're right. They were false allegations. And it's funny we get a Tomb Raider story that gets us on G4. I will tell you guys if you really want to, and I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna put the link in the chat. It is on YouTube, and you can watch um all of the old episodes, and I mean
Mm.
all of the old episodes. I was subscribed to this channel. Damn you, YouTube! I hate you. Um,
They scrub subs all the time.
okay, I'm going to copy the link to this channel, and I'm going to post it in the chat. if I can.
What the heck does Glee have to do with Comic-Con?
Um,
I mean, oh man.
that I
But
don't know. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to share the tab. Okay, on YouTube, you guys, this is the name of the channel. If you want to watch every episode of X Play, every episode of Attack of the Show, and there you go. There's Olivia right there. Look at where it stopped for me, where I stopped. Yeah, yeah. If you can't see that, um, so if you want to watch every episode of these old, it's called News Pooey Channel.
yep.
News and then Pooie channel. It is an awesome reservoir for all of those old G4 shows, and they've got them all. And I mean all of them. This dude recorded it all in the last like few days of them being in existence. They replayed a bunch of all their episodes of everything, and he just sat there and recorded it all on like DVR. It's good quality. All the video game reviews. It'll bring back a lot of memories. It's actually really awesome. It's called News Pooey Channel. You guys need to check it out, especially if you were in that G4 era like we were. It was really awesome. So yeah, check that channel out on YouTube. And it is. I've had a lot of fun going back and watching, a review of Skyrim. Fallout 3. You know what I mean? Like Mario Nintendo 64 games. They'd have like the original Xbox midnight sale, or PlayStation. I mean, it's wild, man. But yeah, it's a cool channel. But anyway, yeah, I don't want to see Sophie Turner in this role, and I'm hoping she doesn't test well. It is testing, so nothing's been confirmed. But I do think this show, unfortunately, is going to be an absolute mess, and that's a shame. And I think it all comes down to who's making it. Really, truth be told. There you go. News Pooey Channel. I love it, man. It really is. I've gotten stuck for hours just letting episode one of X Play all the way up to episode whatever.
Yep. Sorry, it auto corrected on that, but yeah, that is the right channel.
Yeah. It's I tried to grab it, but it was kind of giving me a little bit of issue. Leisure Suit Larry. Yeah, I remember those games. But yeah, definitely, man. Original Ninja Warrior on G4. Yep. For sure.
Still love Ninja Warrior, American
Yeah,
Ninja
man.
Warrior, and how they've continued that. I love the old school one though. They get the fishing boat guy who actually
Oh
won it.
yeah. Oh yeah. Uh, so I guess kind of looking forward here. Deadline posted a story about the Captain America Brave New World projections, kind of round third base here. No, I don't want your updates. No, I don't want push notifications. Um, Captain America Brave New World eyes 86 million to 95 million dollar opening over President's Day weekend. That's going to be like a 4-day weekend after the Super Bowl. Um, early look at the box office. You've got about 5 weeks roughly. First 3 days of the 4-day Valentine's President's Day weekend.
And they've rounded down the numbers, so
Yes.
they're already looking at it as not as much as success, even with the extended weekend
I mean,
package.
is anyone at this point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe excited or looking forward to this movie? Is there anybody out there, anybody at least in the chat
I'm
anyway?
I'm sure there are people that are excited about it because they're excited about next product from Marvel. Um, and it comes down to the normal population, the normies, the people that aren't invested in this, people that
Yeah,
don't know the comic books, people that are just looking for next Marvel product. And
it's
Red Letter Media hit it on the head when they started saying next product by corporation.
yeah, and I mean just looking like for instance Shane says it'll be shit, but I'm going. I mean, and I get that. I totally do. And Joe's are not really at all. Sabir, not so much.
And and, uh,
Gr-
and from what I've heard, also from Gary and others, the insiders say they're more excited about the Thunderbolts than they are about this.
Right. Yeah, Giraffe's Falcon and Winter Soldier show broke me. It could have been cool. I agree with you. The writing
It
was
could have
terrible.
been
I
awesome.
also agree with you.
I
And
think those two
yeah,
actors would have done amazing things together
I agree.
had they done it properly. right?
Yep, I
You
agree.
know,
Viper
but
Scout looking forward to Thunderbolts. Yep.
I mean, but it all goes back to if they had quality writers and they didn't want to tell this weird agenda story, whatever, things that didn't make sense in universe, but you wanted to tell it along the comic book lines, and you make Bucky Captain America, and
Right.
then you make Sam Wilson Captain America after that. You could go in that progression in that route, and it would have been a better story, but it still wouldn't have been a good story because Steve Rogers is Captain America.
Yeah, it's they
and
and we've
and Bucky
talked
is the
about it.
only other one who did a good job at being it because the way Ed Brubaker wrote that run.
I mean, I mean, obviously it made complete sense, and when they decided to do that
Yeah,
at the end of end game or whatever, just that was
yeah,
a complete left turn.
yep. Sam Wilson is his own man. Falcon is his own character. Why does he have to take sloppy seconds?
Yeah.
Why does that make him better?
Well, he's
Well,
also
why
not a super soldier.
he's not a super
He
soldier?
doesn't have this like.
But why isn't
Come on.
Falcon Sam Wilson Falcon enough? Because he was a hero in his own right. He did his own things, and you can do incredible things with that guy. Make him the Batman, make him whatever you want, but keep him Falcon because that's his identity. And
Right.
now you're stripping away his identity to give him the white man's identity, to give him sloppy seconds. I don't. I mean, whatever. That doesn't even make sense to me.
No, but I mean, even in that particular sense, it's like that's a lot of times the way they give these characters validation, right? And if one
With
wants
stolen
to,
valor.
right, if one wants to look into that,
Yeah.
obviously we all know that Bucky would have been the normal choice, and I think had they gone that direction, it would
It,
probably be a more successful
well,
product on their hands at that point.
it's a redemption arc for the Winter Soldier, right? He
100%.
once he broke the programming, so then you give him something, and Cap becomes, Steve Rogers,
There's
Agent of Shield,
there's
and
no
there's a whole
redemption
thing.
arc for
Yeah.
Falcon, right? Like there's
What?
there's no
Yeah.
there's no that it doesn't make any sense within the whole context of everything they did that they laid the foundation for. It was the dumbest thing they could have done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I liked Falcon in the MCU. I just wish they didn't go this route with him. I wish that they'd gone a different route.
Yeah,
I do like the old stories though, but the Cap Falcon team up book was awesome.
right.
But I do prefer the Iron Fist Luke Cage team up a little bit better.
Yeah,
But
Sabir,
that's
I'm
me.
I'm with you too. The Blade movie is it's done. It's not happening.
DOA. I mean, I told
Yeah,
everybody that last summer. It's
yeah,
done.
it's over,
Mahershala Ali walked off set last
yeah.
summer, and he wasn't coming back.
Yeah, and I agree with you in this new Marvel agenda-based storytelling. And look, I guarantee you, as we move forward, you're going to see such a pivot at this point away from that. They've done a lot of reshoots to get rid of a lot of that out of this upcoming movie, but the damage has been done. Like Star Wars even, and these movies have lost a lot of their luster. They were event movies. They were event movies. My son and I, every new one that came out, we went to the movie theater to see it, right? I know a lot of y'all are the same way. Every one of those Marvel movies that came out, it was like, you got to go see it. And it has not been that way for 5 years, going on 6 in 2025. And so I hate that, but it's just the truth of it. And
Yeah,
Frostbite says Civil War movie was what broke me. My favorite Marvel event gets turned from a whole Marvel Universe thing into a 4-on-4 situation. Yeah, and that's one of those things too, taking artistic liberties with the story, right? We're going to see Secret Wars. That's going to be the next storyline. That's what's coming,
yeah,
without a doubt. And so buckle up because you're going to see some things, some artistic liberty taken with that as well.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And Todd C says it's not he was given the shield. He was given the shield after Cap decided to not participate in life and just stay with his lady friend, which look, she's
So,
hot. I get
so
it.
what do you think? Does Chris Evans pop back up in Fantastic Four or in this one? And is he Hydra Cap?
I can't see them doing that. I think if they did it,
It
it would be
look
as a
it
misdirect. It would be as a
look
misdirect,
if no. So, well, let's think about this for a second. If RDJ is coming back as Doctor Doom,
quote unquote.
yeah, if he's coming back as Doctor Doom,
Right.
alternate universe Doctor Doom, why would they not bring back Chris Evans? Because they have already said he's coming back.
Oh,
Why
they're
would they not
definitely,
bring
yeah,
bring him back as Hydra Cap?
to team up or
I mean, he's going to be Hydra Cap. And I don't
yeah,
know if he's teaming up with Doctor Doom or if he's teaming up with
right.
somebody else or if he's trying to infiltrate and trick these people from a different universe who think he's, Captain America.
I mean, I think we're gonna see
I think that'd be
that
a
heel
perfect fit.
turn,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna see it go back to the baby face, right? Like we're gonna go from the heel to the baby face. That's going to be the culmination of events as you get through the 3 or 4 movies or whatever it is they're planning on putting together. I think we all could pretty much speculate that's what's going to happen. So no matter what direction they bring him in, under, that's ultimately, I believe, what would end up happening, right? He would end up being the hero at the end, or one of the heroes at the end. Um, Lucky I'm driving, Matt. We'll continue this conversation Friday at 5 Eastern Standard Time. I like it. I like it a lot. I love that. Yeah, it's and it's funny, Viper Scout. You're right, and this is said a lot by the people that we watch on the regular. Iron Man was a third tier character until RDJ did make him cool and
Yep.
owned that
Well,
character,
so
and those
so
were
it would
good movies.
yeah, I mean that set Iron Man's world afire.
Absolutely.
And it was because Favreau paid close attention to detail and made a quality picture for a low budget. Go figure. Pressure, creative under pressure constraints.
Yeah. Yep. No. Agreed. And they churned it out in those early movies and creating that revenue stream that
Yeah.
what it became. Yeah. And you're right. Under pressure, your creative juices are flowing, and then once things get fat, cat, it's rest on your laurels, and that's kind of what Phase Bore was, and also D-list, characters that
Well,
people don't care
and
about.
yeah, I mean, here's the thing: you got Fantastic Four coming out, and they're an alternate universe Fantastic Four. What's the next Avengers movie? Who's an Avenger?
Yeah, that's the other problem. They have done a very extremely poor job of trying to set up that team moving forward, right? And
Yeah.
so you build there's a lack of interest at this point. So I'm curious. I mean, obviously they're gonna have to dip back in the well, and they're
Yep.
gonna have to bring these guys back if they want this to be
Right.
moderately successful, and then they have
Graph
to write good scripts.
After I good scripts. Graph, that version of Chris Evans is dead. He had his flesh ripped from his bones. He no
Yeah,
longer exists anymore.
that's awesome
It's
though.
gone.
I loved it myself. Frank Doom
And
and you is in the house. What's going on,
what's up,
Frank?
Frank? And that shit talking he did was perfect. I thought that was one of the
Oh
funniest
my
things.
God, especially at the end of the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that movie was a lot of fun.
I, I
Whether you think it was too much placating people or not, I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. It was one of the best things of last year. It was on my top 5 list. I did want to say that there is a story that's out right now, and I almost brought it up, but I didn't know if anybody would really care. Maybe we can talk about it next week. But there's a big lawsuit coming up, and it involves Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. It involves the Nice Pool character. It involves a director on a film that Blake Lively was participating in. She has since filed sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Written a letter about that
Wow.
said director. Supposedly, the Nice Pool character was created as a joke about this guy, as in it's supposed to be him with the man bun and everything. And some of the things he says in the movie are things that supposedly were said to Blake Lively during the filming of this movie she was in by this director. Yeah, it's become a pretty big story, and so much so that he has they've sent a letter that there is to be no continuation of the Nice Pool character in any shape, form, or fashion right now. That yeah, it's like it's pretty wild.
You know what?
And
I mean, if you're a male feminist sleazebag out there doing stuff like that, maybe you deserve what you get.
well, and that's the thing, right? Neil Gaiman also is in some trouble for that as well.
I'm telling you
Uh,
guys,
yeah,
anybody who self qualifies themselves as a
self, yes, yep,
male feminist, you got to look a little deeper into that
yeah,
because I
yep.
haven't seen one that is not a total scumbag.
Yeah,
Not one.
man. It's the truth comes to light, right? It really does. But yeah, so maybe next week we can go over that story. But I thought that was interesting and that character, and there are some similarities. It's quite interesting. Some of really the most egregious things I think was that he this director on the set was like, look at her. She you wouldn't even know she was pregnant and had a baby. She snapped back into shape. And I'm like, a lot of women
Okay,
actually would
so
appreciate that.
so right.
Personally, not that I know.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that felt so Ryan Reynolds talking about his own wife to me that I couldn't imagine somebody else saying it
I
because
agree, but that's
because that
supposedly where that line came from. Was
but you
what
know
this
what?
director said to her on the set one day.
Knowing Ryan Reynolds the way I do, not personally, just from his movies and his interviews and things like that, I
Right.
can totally see him saying that about his wife.
I
And
agree.
I mean, that seems like a Ryan Reynolds made joke. I mean, that is
Right.
tailored to Ryan Reynolds. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's my opinion. That's what I would say. And fuck that guy.
Yeah, it is interesting. There are some things when you read through it though, like some of the similarities, some of the lines and the look and some other things, and whatever. But yeah, we'll see how it plays
Whatever.
out. But yeah, it's a very large lawsuit. There's like a lawsuit and a countersuit and all this shit. It's whatever. It
Well,
seems like it's
okay, so
stars being stars.
yeah, but that's what you do. Like somebody files a
Yep,
lawsuit against you, you immediately file countersuit against them, right?
correct.
And so you try to threaten each other so nothing goes to discovery,
Right.
right? If you can work and that just starts a negotiation, and if you can negotiate yourself out of it, then fine, you're out of it, and you don't have to go to discovery or anything like that. But if somebody's going to be stubborn and stands their ground, and you go to discovery, everybody looks like a dick.
Yep. Yep. It's
Everyone looks like a dick. And guess
and
what? Elon left it up to Gina Carano in her case, and Gina Carano said, "We're standing it out. We're going to go to Discovery." Disney did not want this thing to go to Discovery. It's going
right.
to Discovery. Once it goes to Discovery, Disney's going to look
Yeah,
real
we're gonna
bad.
get some interesting emails in that case. We're gonna get conversations that were had from people under oath. We're gonna get so that's gonna be interesting to follow the Gina Carano lawsuit.
Yeah, the 50-person
Um,
beatdown, that's going to be the biggest one.
yes, the you're talking about the
The
struggle
call.
session.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
struggle session with
yeah, the
50 other people. They're going to,
40 or 50 on one
yep,
Zoom call.
yep.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to find out about. So yeah, and Sabir, you're right. A lot of content to discuss. We might have a field day with that once we start to get some details. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, man. I don't know. I'm that's kind of all I've got. I have a few little odds and ends here and there, but nothing too crazy. We did hear about Ben Affleck and the FBI at his home.
I
Says
didn't
there he said the FBI says he's not in trouble after agents were spotted at his house. That's kind of all we do know about that.
I didn't really get to read the articles. My wife told me about it, and that's why I sent it to you. She saw
Yeah.
that. I was like,
Oh yeah.
what are the FBI talking to Ben Affleck about a drone hitting the? Oh wait, oh
Yeah. Yeah. It's so yeah, nothing crazy there. Elon Musk, the last ditch effort is to try to get him to buy TikTok before it's banned. There is a new Chinese app called Red One. Funny name, Red One. Yep. That a lot of people. It's called Red Note, rather.
Oh,
Red Note,
okay.
and
Okay.
and it's the newest Chinese
At least it's not YouTube
TikTok
Red.
like app that has gotten millions of downloads now by TikTok. It says 700,000 new users over the past 2 days have flocked to Red Note, which is the TikTok refugee club for people addicted to TikTok. And it is a Chinese investment group.
Well,
So do that with that what you will.
I'm just going to say this. I'm going to throw this out there. Social media is social media, and it's always going to change. And people who are running from one site to another are doing themselves a disservice because they're trying to get into an echo chamber one way
Right.
or the other, right? Uh,
Yes.
if you stick with the platforms that you're on, and quite honestly, Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter are the only ones really worth being on because they are the only ones that provide the type of engagements. But you can hate the way they do things or whatever. But if you go to Blue Sky, all you're doing is you're going to Threads, and Threads is pretty much dead.
Yeah,
Blue
yeah,
Sky
it
is
is.
full
Yeah,
of
it's dead.
PDF files, and that'll be
Right.
dead soon too. And this new fangled social media thing, whatever, it's always going to be changing. It's always going to be different. You're going to
Right.
get a handful of kids that try to go over there and abuse it, but then who knows what's going to happen because social media is a dangerous animal at this point, and there are so many predators out there and scammers and
Well,
everything
and
else.
and with AI, right?
And with
You might
AI,
have
you
Brad
don't
Pitt
know.
trying to date you and
That's
get
right.
your life savings.
And the Chinese are always trying to up the scale on AI, and you know, I mean,
Absolutely.
they're a communist country, so they need all the money they can steal from everybody else because that's all they know how to do, and so they're gonna take it from you.
You will own nothing and be
Eh,
happy.
You
And
will eat bugs and be happy.
lastly, I guess the SEC now at this point, now that Trump and it's brought Elon in, and there's all this is now they're suing him because they said he did not disclose the fact in a timely way that he purchased more than 5% of Twitter's common stock in March of 2022. He didn't make the disclosure until 11 days after the deadline, which he already owned 9%. So now they're going after Elon, which I think we all probably could have predicted.
I think
We
that's going to be
shall
end up
see.
being pretty frivolous in the
Yeah,
long
it
term
is.
because it
It
is what
is.
it is.
Yeah.
He's going to do what he's going to do, and he's a billionaire,
Yep.
and he's going to
Yep.
get away with stuff that other people couldn't. But at the same time, probably slipped his mind. He wasn't thinking about it because it's pretty public knowledge when you purchase stock like that. But whatever.
As long as I can still get sweet and sour pork, do what you need to do, says Frostbite, and build back better. Yeah. Lawfare. That's exactly what it's called. Lawfare. Well, anyway, look, that's all I got, man. We'll be back obviously next week, same time, same bat channel, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, for another round of the evening blend. Maybe we'll dig a little bit into that lawsuit, see if there's anything interesting
Yep.
that kind of comes out of that.
And
It's going to be a little while before that really takes place, though.
yeah, for sure. And lawsuits take a long time.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, Landman season finale was 2 hours long.
Oh, yeah.
And if you haven't caught up on that,
It's a good
you need to
show.
catch up on that. There's some shit that goes down in that last episode that's really freaking cool.
Yeah.
The epitome of
Yeah.
cool.
It
Um,
is a good show though, and it's
yeah,
quite funny too, man. Holy
it's
moly.
funny, it's engaging, it's got a lot of real life stories that are
Yeah.
happening in there. The last episode starts off with the Paul Harvey intro. Um, so I
Oh,
thought that
well,
was pretty cool.
and that's the rest of the story.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love some Paul Harvey. Well, all right, y'all. He is Mamu's Action Figure Blog on Instagram. Matthew Matson. Always a pleasure. I'm Pop Blender here on YouTube. Pop Blender 75 on Instagram, but you're better off finding me here. And so yeah, that's the evening blend for January the 14th.
14th. Yep. You
That's right.
got it.
All right. Well, we'll be back on the 21st, y'all. Y'all have a great night. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Leave a like on your way out the door if you can. And tell a buddy, bring a friend, man. Be a good friend. Do something nice. You might change somebody's life. Love it, y'all. Have a good night, and we'll see you next